Namaste and good morning to all of you. Let's start the class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhu Bhava Swaha, Tat Savitravareneyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Naha Prachodayat, Asto Ma Satgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, मृत्योर्मा अमृतम गम्या ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि ओम शांति 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 ओम. Today's class is about Vivekachudamani, and we ended our last week's class on verse number 410. Through Samadhi, the wise man realizes the infinite Brahm in his heart. As devoid of the concepts of cause and effect, as the reality beyond all fancy, as homogeneous and matchless, beyond all proofs, established by the declarations of the scriptures, always ingrained in us. Okay? So talking about the Samadhi, talking about the experience, the subjective experience. And now let's look at verse number 411. So these verses, Shankaracharya is very loudly telling us the experience of the Samadhi. Ajram amram asat abhav vastu savarupam स्तिमित सलिल राशि प्रख्यम आख्या विहीनम शमित गुण विकारम शाश्वतम शांतम एकम हृदि कल्यति विद्वान ब्रह्म पूर्णम समाधौ अजरम undecaying, amram immortal, that means devoid of any kind of a destruction. Asat abhav vastu savrupam, as the positive entity which debars all negations. Stamit salil rashi prakhyam, like a calm ocean. Akhya vihinam, nameless. Shamit gun vikaram, where modifications of qualities are quietened. Shama. गुणों के विकार का शम. शाश्वतम eternal. Shantam serene. Ekam one. Haridi in the heart. Kalyati realizes. Vidwan, the wise person. Brahma Purnam, infinite Brahma. Samadhau, in Samadhi. So this is the experience in Samadhi. Through Samadhi, the wise person realizes the infinite Brahma in his heart. So that means right within yourself, you will experience infinite Brahma. How? As undecaying and immortal. Prakriti decays, Brahma does not. As the positive entity which debars all negations, which is like a calm ocean, which has no name, in which there are neither merits or demerits, which is eternal, tranquil, and one. One. So in that kind of a state, when all the thoughts settled. They're gone. अस्त अभाव, भावों का अस्त हो जाना. Only then you experience the reality. Because you really cannot call it by any name. It's nameless. Definitely we use different names, but no name can explain it because it is nameless. And it has no properties. Cannot be indicated by any word or name. That's why it's called indescribable, because we describe by using the words and the names. It's indescribable. We'll all have to experience it in samadhi. It's not that we cannot experience it. We can experience it, but we cannot describe it. But experience can happen only when we go through the sadhana. And he's giving an analogy over here that it's almost like Salil Rashi, Stimit Salil Rashi Prakyam. That means if you're standing somewhere, looking at the ocean, and all the ocean waves, they all become still. That kind of a stillness. Because we need to still our own waves in our mind. Because waves are the one, the fluctuations in our mind do not let us see the Brahm inside. And those waves in our mind, the fluctuations of the mind are due to the vasanas. Got to learn to quieten our vasanas, clean our vasanas. So in that inner quiet, we will experience consciousness. Okay, so this is the word vikares, the fluctuations, the modifications. So vikar need to be quieted. Or guns of the vasanas, we got to change at least from tamasic to rajasic, rajasic to sattvic. And then we can go above sattvic. Okay, and anything which is beyond thought, beyond name, is naturally permanent. Because it's not conditioned by time or a space. It's not a concept of our intellect. We definitely use the intellect to go up to a certain point, but beyond that, even intellect doesn't function. The self transcends the mind. That's why its condition is devoid of the turmoil of the mind. And that's why it said Shantam. Then he used the word Ekam, the one, this great truth, which is the state of pure infinite consciousness, which a wise person experiences. It's one. My experience will be the same as your experience. Or a experience by these rishis thousands and thousands of years ago, because that subjective experience does not change. Everything else keeps on changing. Cultures change. The maps, even on the globe, they keep on changing. The mountains change, the rivers change. But this Brahma does not change. It's one and no change in it. So there where all abhavs have ended, that is a astabhava. There are two kinds of abhavs which are possible, according to the philosophy. They use the example of a pot and the clay. Before the creation of the pot, there was no pot. So the non-existence of the pot before it manifested is called the prak abhav. Okay, so that pot wasn't there. Then it got created. But then after the part has been created and somebody breaks it down, that is called Pratvam Abhava. It wasn't before, then it got created, and then it got destroyed again. These are two kinds of Abhava. But according to the self and the Brahma, there was no time when the self was not. Nor will be a time ever when the self will not be. So in that sense, he says, Astabhava. So these are like a technical terms used over here to bring our attention towards the permanence or the eternal aspect of this. Brahm or the Atma never ends. So in all these three verses, he has given a scheme where the mind is instructed about what to contemplate upon. We have not experienced it. We have not reached that samadhi yet, but this is what we are going to experience when we do our sadhana. This is what samadhi is all about. Okay, let's look at 412 now. Sama hit antaha karna Savarupe viloke atmanam akhand vaibhavam vichind bandham bhav gandh gandhitam yatnen unstvam safali kurushva. Samahit antahakaran, being one who has quietened the mind. Okay, quieted the antahakaran. Samahit antahakarana. Savarupe, in one's true nature. Viloke, see. Atmanam, your own self. Akhand vaibhavam, of infinite splendor. Vichindya, cut off. Bandham, bondage. Bhav gandh gandhitam, which has been strengthened by the impressions of your previous births. Bhav gandh gandhitam, which has been strengthened by the impressions of your previous births. Yatnen, with effort. Unsatvam, human birth. Safali kurushva, fulfill. With a controlled mind, in samadhi, see in your own self the Atma of undying splendor. Eternal. Cut off your bondages which have been strengthened by the impressions of your previous births and successfully strive to realize the fulfillment of a human birth. Very clearly, he is trying to tell us what do we need to do. Control your mind. Quieten your mind. Clean your mind. Get rid of all the bondages. So after having quietened the mind and the intellect and the ego, all of it, antahkara, the subtle body, come to experience the endless glory of the self. And in order to experience this, destroy all your contacts with the world. As long as we are attached to the world, inside will not be quietened. If I keep the windows open, the dirt will come in. If I keep all the windows and the doors open, the gush of dirt will come inside. So control that. Withdraw yourself from all your identifications with the objects, the body and the mind and the intellect. At least during a few minutes of meditation, during the prayers, During contemplation, spend some time withdrawing your attention only inward towards the reality. Because vasanas, sansar vasana vastim, that is above gandh gandhitam. And that's called agyan, that's called ignorance. So detach yourself from that. For a few minutes a day, detach yourself from your worldly life. It has a stinking order. And this order is the change. It keeps on changing. And he says this cannot be done easily. That's why he used the word yatnen. We have to make a lot of effort for it. In order to achieve something in the outer world, we have to make effort. This is something subtler than that, higher than that. We have to make an effort. We have to strive. Yatan means striving. So by striving, constantly be at it until you are redeemed from all the attachment with the world around. And once you do this, you are fulfilling your duty as a human being. You are fulfilling the purpose or the goal of human life. We spend so much effort to obtain the temporary purposes, temporary goals. This is the actual goal of life. So fulfill the very program of evolution. So that's why this verse is very strongly telling us what Bhagavad Gita said. Etat buddhva buddhim nasyat krit krityascha bharat. Lord Krishna said in chapter 15, in verse 20, not only must it be intellectually understood, but it must be, you must become this. Then you are wise. That means you got to be committed to this kind of a life. This is not just a passing fancy. This has to be a commitment for our life. You got to be serious about it. Let's look at next one. Sarv upadhi vinirmuktamah satachit anandam advayam bhavye atmanam atamstham na bhuya kalpasehe advane. Sarv upadhi vinirmuktaha. Sarv means all, upadhi, the limitations or the limiting adjuncts they are called. Vinirmuktaha. So beyond all upadhis, okay, which is beyond all the limitations. Satchit anandam, existence, knowledge, bliss. Advayam, non-dual. Bhavye, meditate. Atmanam, upon that Atma. Atamsam, residing in your self. Na means not, bhuya, again. Kalpase, will be qualified. Advane, for sansar, or for birth and death. Advane, worldly existence. Meditate upon that Atma, which is yourself, which is beyond all limitations, which is existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. Satchit Anand. And non-dual, there are not two Atmas, one Atma. Never will you come under the sway of births and deaths. If this is our goal, if this is clear to us, he's telling us this is what we need to do. Limitations are only for the body. Limitations are for the mind, limitations are for the ego, limitations are for the intellect. Atma doesn't have any limitation. So meditate upon that Atma, which you are. Out of ignorance, we have been thinking that I am this body, or I am so smart, I am so successful. All of those are limitations. During meditation, let those go. That's why this beautiful Gyan Mudra. Remind yourself again and again, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect. I am the soul, which is part of Brahm. Very simple message, very simple. We got to learn to liberate ourselves from all the equipments, whether they are gross, subtle, or causal. We got to learn to meditate upon the non-dual existence, knowledge, bliss, which we are. See, what we are is so super, so beautiful. We don't even think about it. We lament over something which is useless, which is going to be left behind. So meditation consists of two aspects. One is a total withdrawal from the equipments and their interpretations. Withdrawal from there. And then second one is turning the entire quietened mind to the contemplation of the self. So we are letting go of something because that we are not. Then we got to know who we are. These are the two aspects. As a result of such a deep and serene contemplation in the silence of our mind, you are awakened to the highest. But just like he said earlier, you got to do yatan. Striving we must do. And over here in this verse, he says it so clearly that this kind of an individual will never return to the realm of births and deaths. Will not be crushed by the wheel of change. And we find this insistence in all the Upanishads that wake up to this infinite. In Gita also, I'm sure you remember this. Mam upeyatyu kontehe punarjanam na vidyate. There's no more new birth after that. You have merged. I think Padma is asking a question. Padma, let me see. Repeat the three bhavs. Okay, all right. I will, after the class, I will go through that, the bhavs. Okay. So now let's look at verse number 414. Chaya iv punsaha paridrishyamanam abhasrupen fal anubhutyah shriram arat shavvat nirastam punaha na sandhyate idam mahatma. Chaya iv, like the shadow. Punsaha, a person's. Paridrishyamanas, which is being seen. Abhasrupen, as an appearance. Fal anubhutyah, owing to the effects of past actions. Fal, shriram, the body. Arat, to a distance. Shavvat, like a corpse. Nirastam is cast off. Punha, again. Na sandhate, does not attach. Idam means this, Mahatma, the wise person, is using this Mahatma term again and again. He says, once the body has been cast off, like a corpse. Cast off means like a detachment from the body. I am not the body. The wise person does not attach himself to it like person's shadow. It is still visible owing to the effects of past actions. So according to the prarabdha, we have the body residing in the body, but it's like a shadow, not much effect. I think we can all understand this, that physical body, which we see, we touch, is detached or negated by the person, man of realization, they say, the wise person. He ignores it as he would his own shadow. Just like we don't consider our shadow as anything sacred. We know that shadow is just a shadow, no existence to it. The same way a wise person, a realized person, looks at the body. If the head of my shadow goes into the ditch or face into the ditch, I don't cry over it. Or it goes into the dirt, that doesn't mean I'm going to wash my face. I know it's just a shadow. But shadow is caused by the body. So the same way we can say that the body is caused by the self. In that sense. Okay. So, but the relationship between the Atma and the body is only as intimate as between the human body and its shadow. So to a good meditator who contemplates deeply, who has learned the art of withdrawing his consciousness totally from his physical body is just like a shadow of the self. That's what he's telling us. Okay. So it's like an illusion. It's a Maya. And he says this illusion is because of the prarabdha. The person says, yeah, I am in the body according to my past karmas. That's all it is. So this kind of a person considers his body as a corpse, like a dead body. He almost rejects it as something just worthless. So this person is a Mahatma, a realized self. Will not come back. So living this life according to the prarabdha only. Now let's do next one, 415. Satat vimal bodh anand roopam sametye tyaj jad mal roop upadhim etam sudure ath punah api na eshaha samaryatam vant vastu smaran vishya bhutam kalpate kutsanaya satat, eternal. Vimal bodh anand roopam, the pure knowledge and bliss. See, Vimal means no mal in it. That is a pure, unsullied. Bodh is the knowledge and Anand is bliss. Sametye, having realized. Tyaj means detach, throw. Jad mal roop upadhim. Upadhi, which is inert and impure. Etam, this, sudure, far away. At means then. Punha api, anymore. Na means not. Eshaha, this. Samaratam, should be remembered. Smarana. Vant vastu, a thing vomited. Smarana vishya bhutam, when remembered. Kalpate becomes Kutsanai, cause of disgust. Again, he's bringing our attention towards who we are and who we are not. Eternal, unsullied, knowledge bliss, thus realizing the Atma, fling far away this body which is inert and filthy. Then think of it no more. For a thing vomited brings disgust to the mind when remembered. So he's bringing to our attention that this body which we are so attached to, it's like a filth. Just like if we vomit something and we don't want to look at it even, the same way he says you have detached your body from it, your mind from the body. So having reached this ever pure knowledge, the bliss nature of yours, throw far away from your mind this inert and filthy body. Do not obsess about it. Do not identify with it anymore, nor cater to its sense gratificational urges. Do not even remember, because whatever we remember, what we did in the past, it will haunt us in the future. Otherwise, we keep on living it again and again. So Shankaracharya is giving us a detail which should be the attitude of a serious sadhak towards the flashes of recognition of the physical body. So that's why he used the word vant vastu. Something you threw it out. Don't even remember it. Do not ever remember again, he says. So in these last two verses, Shankaracharya is emphasizing the idea that the man of perfection does not care for his body. He has nothing but the disgust towards his body. We haven't reached there, but at least we got to learn not to obsess about this body during our sadhana. And why a man of perfection develops an attitude of utter negligence and supreme indifference towards his physical existence, that is explained in the next one. Let's look at that. Samulam etat paridahe vahnu sadatmani brahmane nirvikalpe tatah swayam nitye vishuddha bodh anand atmanah tishtati vidvarshitah. Samulam, with its root, etat, this, paridahe, burning, vahano, in the fire, sadatmani, the eternal self, brahmani nirvikalpe, absolute Brahma, tatah means then, swayam, himself, nitya vishuddha bodh anand atmana, as the pure Atma, which is eternal knowledge bliss. Tishtati, remains, with varshitaha. With varshit is firmly established in the knowledge of Brahma. Burning all this, root and all, in the fire of Brahma, the eternal absolute self, he who is truly wise remains alone, established as the pure Atma, eternal knowledge bliss. So it's like even strengthening your sadhana more. So having destroyed in the fire of knowledge the entire body concept, along with its very roots, and what are the roots? The vasanas, the causal body. The man of perfection remains alone as the very self. No attachment to the physical body, no attachment to the subtle body, and no attachment to the causal body either. which is the vasanas. So he destroys his gross body identification in this ecstasy, the fire of ecstasy. And he is awakened to this spotless state of infinite reality. This happens in samadhi. The best among these sadhaks are called vidvrishtaha. He becomes one with the infinite, which is ever pure knowledge, bliss. The knower of the self becomes the self. That's where all those mahavakyas have come. Aham brahmasmi. That all the upadhyas have been burned. Only the I remained. So from the peak of the pure bliss, he is no more aware of this physical body or gross body or even the causal body. Next one. Prarabdha sutra grathitam shariram pariyatuhu vatishtatuhu go iv trak na tat punah pashyatihi tatva veta anandatmanihi brahmani leen vriti. Prarabdha sutra grathitam, woven from the fabric of or the thread of prarabdha. Prarabdha sutra grathitam. Shariram, the body. Pariyatu, whether it goes, va means or, tishtatu remains. Go if, like cows, strak, garland. Na means not, tataha means that, punha again, pashyati sees. Tattva veta, the knower of truth, anandatmani, the bliss, the quietness of that bliss. Brahmani, in Brahma, leen vriti, one whose thoughts are reposed. This body is woven from the fiber of prarabdha. And we are all familiar with this term prarabdha. Okay? Prarabdha's karmas are the karmas which have been taken out of our sanchit karmas. Because of the prarabdha, we were born in a certain family, certain place, certain body, certain relationships where we didn't have much control over it. That was prarabdha. Kriyaman karmas are where we had some control. Because we do have a freedom over here now. But then there's a prarabdha also. Okay, so where we did not have any control. We had the control when we performed those karmas. But then they went into the storage house. Then from the storage house, some of the karmas we brought with us in this lifetime. Those are called prarabdha karma. So that's why he says this body is woven from the fiber of the prarabdha. And the knower of truth is not concerned whether it drops off or remains. It's totally detached. As the garland around the cow's neck. For his thoughts are reposed in Brahma. Whose thoughts? He's not talking about the cow's thoughts, he's talking about that Mahatma's thoughts. Because he is absorbed in Brahma. So the man of perfection considers his physical body only something woven out of its prarabdha. Remember that. The body and its experiences are according to its existing vasanas. Vasanas are the footprints of our past actions and thoughts. Okay, and we continuously creating more and more vasanas, but the Mahatma is aware of it. The body is no more a source of fulfillment for him. He's just unconcerned about it. And the very powerful simile which he used, you all are familiar with the Go Ashtami day, which in India I don't know how many places they celebrate that, but that is our culture. Go Ashtami. The cow is worshipped and adored that day. For us Hindus, cow is not an animal, it's a mata. Go Mata. So worshipped. There's a day in a Hindu religion for cows also. So just like today is a day for young girls. That is the culture we belong to. The girls are worshipped. Ashtami. Their feet are washed. They are put tilk on their forehead. Feed them, do pranam to them, to little girls. Ashtami. Beautiful day, beautiful culture we belong to. And this cow, the example he is giving us, because he says that if the garland breaks, falls down, the cow is unconcerned. The same way, a Mahatma, whether you give him a pedestal to sit on or whether you rebuke, doesn't matter to him. Not looking for any kind of a praise. That's a Mahatma. Okay? It's a matter of no importance to him. He doesn't care. Why? Because he's awakened to that higher state. For us, the body is the only source of happiness. That's why we keep on running after its security. The man of perfection is one who has merged himself with Brahman, the infinite bliss. That's why in that supreme state of fabulous richness, he has no concern for his body. When we have something higher, lower falls away. So we got to do the sadhana so that we raise ourselves to the higher. That is the message over here. Keep on doing our meditations. While knowing all this, knowledge is needed. Take care of the body, because we are not at Mahatma yet, to take care of it without being obsessed about it, without being attached to it. Clean your mind, clean your vasanas, quieten your mind so that you can see who you are. Sadhana can be done with the help of only these upadhis. But our goal is not this upadhis, our goal is to rise above the upadhis and become one with Brahma. That's what he's trying to tell us. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaye Purnam Eva Visheshyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.